say the deck couldn't be waived. Do you have a problem with it then?
I have less of a problem.
Again, we might be expanding the printing of Pokemon cards. We might not even see more English cards. It might be...
The Pokemon Company International and Millennium Print Group have expanded their footprint to print billions more cards. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Has introduced a new rarity tier after all these years that includes serialized cards. And finally, the community verdict is in, and we've gotten the response from CEOs, community members alike on PSA and Collectors Universe buying Beckett. All that and more today on the Off-Center Podcast, your home for perfectly imperfect hobby talk, one off-center take at a time. I'm your host, Squeaks, joined by my co-hosts, Radar, Thrifty, and Mason. And let's jump right into it. Mason, give us all the details that we've got so far on this expanded footprint that Millennium seems like they're going to be doing with Pokemon.
Yeah, big stuff, big news here. Shout out to Poke Beach for being just the greatest source of all things Pokemon-related news. Love these guys.
Your relaxing Sunside take on Pokemon news. Poke Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Do they have a motto? He needs a motto. John, you need a motto.
So we got 1.27 million square feet worth of printers. Is that crazy?
Whoa, worth of printers?
Whoa, chill.
Hold on a sec. Hold on, stop.
Hold on a second. They got space. They bought space. What they're going to use that space for is up for debate.
Yeah, that 1.27 million square feet. And there's no printer in this. Mason's dyslexia here.
Well, no, they're going to be putting in Millennium Print Group if it's not printed.
No, to be fair, it does say in the title campus to print cards, but I think that's an assumption that's being made.
It's probably
right?
wrong.
And so,
keep
going. Give us the data.
Okay.
Give us the data. Then we'll debate.
So, manufacturing campus in North Carolina. They already have existing space there. This is 400,000 square feet of existing buildings, and they're going to build another 866,000 square feet. I'm assuming relatively close by in the same area where all this stuff is. So to make like some big mega campus for printing cards at Millennium Print Group and doing whatever else they want to do, apparently. I have to clarify. But so obviously we've had major bottlenecks of products and developing different products out here. So we had 11.9 billion cards in 2022 to 2023. We went down 10.2 billion cards from 2023 to 2024. We don't know the numbers this year. I think we'll learn in March, probably at the end of their fiscal, that they normally come up with that stuff. But yeah, obviously they need more space to print cards at the print group.
Okay, sorry. I just looked this up just for context a
Yes.
bit because I was like, what does 1.2 million square feet, what does that even mean? That's a big number. Roughly 20 football fields fitting large Amazon fulfillment centers, similar amounts of space required. BMW assembly plants. That's like examples of other businesses that require that much space. So it's a lot. I was not sure. So I just was like,
Well,
what does that even mean? Like,
So, it reminds me of Troll and Toad, the card company, which I actually don't know if they're actually still in Kentucky anymore. But when they were on, yeah, they moved to North Carolina, funny enough. Okay, when they were in Kentucky, though, on Greeting Card Road, the old greeting card manufacturing plant, they took over that warehouse or whatever, and there were a bunch of businesses in there. That building was 1 million square feet. I actually went down one time and toured it. In Troll and Toad, which is a massive operation, and there were tons of other companies in there, including, I believe, a distributor is in there, and they were only utilizing like a third, if that, of that building, and and then the rest of it's just like old, empty building. So for a over 1 million square feet to be, presumably the whole thing will be used, it's gonna be a massive operation. Now, these print companies are massive operations. I mean, they take up a massive amount of space. Just the printers alone are huge. And you
How big are they?
Ooh, a lot bigger than that.
How big
no,
are they?
they're huge. They are massive machines.
It's like a
That
40,
go
50
through.
foot run, kind of, maybe. Is that reasonable?
They might be bigger than that, honestly. Like they're, I mean, they are like it's hard to describe. Because like the first time I ever saw one was it was like almost like breathtaking because you think printer, you know, even like industrial printer, when you think like t-shirt printing or anything like that, you don't think something that like, you know, like you could run like a car hood through one of those things. And like you don't think something of like that size and magnitude, but you think about how big these sheets are, and it's got to funnel these things like, you know, hundreds of them, you know, just over seconds.
Well, it's
And
like
so
an
it's got to be able to
assembly
have
line
tons
of
of those just running down the
printers.
line back to
Yeah,
back to back.
yeah. It's like a couple sections. It feels like if like it does this part of it, this part of it, this part of it. And then
Yeah,
cuts it.
yeah. Exactly. And so they're super long. And then you've got tons of them. And then there's all kinds of other machines. You know, everyone just thinks like, you know, start to finish, a card goes through and that's that. You got to have cutting machines. You got to have the box wrapping machines. You got to have the machines that drop the cards to make the packs. You got to have, you know, there's so much that goes into it.
And those can be in different buildings too. Like they will send the sheets uncut to a different building down the street to then do the cutting of all the individual cards, and then to another building to do the collation and the wrapping. And
it probably all depends on the facility, but yeah, I mean, the hope is obviously that you to go from point A to point B logistically would take as little movement as possible.
Maybe
right?
they can
you have to
do
take
that
something over and
with
bring it back. Now you've got all the
this.
logistical operations, but I think it's safe to assume some capacity of that will be for printing cards. But it's my understanding, doesn't Millennium, because Mason, you did a video on this once, I believe. Like they had like posted a video and then you talked about it, but they make a lot of the packaging as well there.
This is actually one of my most popular videos. There are some things like the big premium boxes and the collection box that they farm out. The Pokeball tins, and those get farmed out to a company called Beckett, actually in Oklahoma. But
not Beckett, the other company.
I'm sorry, it's Bennett. Bennett.
Okay, I was like, wait a minute. What are the odds?
You got Beckett on the brain, my boy.
Bennett. Okay.
Don't normally, but I guess I do today. But,
we all have Beckett on the mind today, so you'll understand why soon.
But no, like they like all their stuff. I'm assuming it's still done the same way. This was a couple years ago now, but you know, it'll show their assembly line basically of like them building like ETBs, and it's all put in there by hand, and just like, which you wouldn't think, right? You'd think they'd have machines for all this, but no, all that stuff is at least at the time of watching that, it was done by hand, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably office space for people at this facility. There is storage for the logistical side. I mean, you have to have so much space at these buildings too, where you just have pallets and pallets of stuff that are flowing in and out. So like, it's not just going to be jam packed with printers. Like, how much is this really going to affect?
Yeah,
how many cards are printed? I mean,
how many is 10 billion cards? Like, think how much space just for that would be. You know, that's just
and that's actually a really good point, both of you. That the space constraint, right? However much you can print, you've got to scale your warehousing capacity equally, because not only do you have to be able to warehouse it, but if you want to be able to have a backlog of product so that you can avoid drought, you've got to be able to warehouse that potentially even longer than that print run duration while you're printing other stuff. And then you've got to have the warehouse logistics of being able to, you know, oh, we printed that 6 months ago and we're printing this now, that you're not just like, what happens if you just barricade everything in? Now you can't get out the reprint wave. You can't haul everything out and then take that out and then haul everything back in, right? You almost have to have like the warehouse logistics alone that they would have to have. And so I wouldn't be surprised if like half of that ends up just being like warehousing, storage space, you know, fulfillment space, things like that. We also have to think about the fact of if right now their space constraints were to this point that they needed this much additional space, you know, they've probably been limited in terms of expansion on what else they can do, right? With tariffs coming in and things like that, there's a lot of things that they, you know, historically been produced overseas, like the dice and the card dividers and the sleeves and stuff like that for ETBs and those types of things. Do they maybe plan to bring in some manufacturing equipment to produce some of that stuff in-house so that they don't have to import it, don't have to pay additional tariffs?
That's why, like, I think the bundle came to be and the surprise box from Prismatic came to be. Those were not pieces that you needed anything from overseas, at least I imagine. So like new SKUs might we might see a ramp up of. We might see more bundles. We might see more booster boxes. We might see more of these
Please
collection
God,
boxes
more booster boxes.
without all that extras.
And
Right?
we're seeing a lot of new products, right, that have things that you don't necessarily have to manufacture overseas, right? Like we saw those really cool Charizard boxes that have the lenticular Charizard, and then they did a lenticular Venusaur. We've seen which I would still think this one would be produced in China, but maybe it wasn't. But they had that Cynthia Garchomp box that had like the little plastic standee pieces in it, and maybe they found another place to get those done, or maybe they were able to do those in house somehow. So there's a lot of different products that I feel like we've seen in the last like 12 to 18 months, and I don't know if that's like an experimenting thing on figuring out what sells or what people find interesting versus like what do we actually have the logistical capacity to fulfilling at a reasonable cost, right? Because tariffs can eat a lot of that margin in if you have to bring that stuff over and increase your turnaround times and your logistical constraints of getting it through customs and all these different things. And, I'm sure that they've got customs brokers and all that kind of stuff to help figure that out. But still, when you're working on the scale that they are, if you can solve even one of those problems, that can be millions of dollars in savings that can help pay off, the leasing or owning of a building like this or buildings like this or a campus. And so, when we initially, it's just everyone's like, oh yeah, 1.27 million square feet of space, they're gonna double their print capacity. And it's, I definitely think it will aid them in getting more cards out.
But also like when too is another thing. Like that,
Sure.
how long does it take them to
Big
actually
question.
get the runway and like get all these things ordered and like get them
Yeah.
started and train
like
the people they need to train? Yeah, stuff like that.
that's it. That's probably the biggest question here is when does this happen? And
Yeah.
and like, I mean, the other thing, Pokemon is such a big corporation. There's so many levels of decision making. We want to print more of this. And they make a decision to print more prismatic. It's going to take 9 months for that to go through the printer and be done. So
Yeah.
the timing is I think really the most important thing here for that people are trying to guess on when it comes to what they're selling, what they're buying, what they're going to do.
Well, and let me ask you guys this. Is there a threshold where just like you don't want to print more even if you have the capacity? Because, there has to be a threshold, even for Pokemon, where you print beyond X number of cards and you start to run the territory of like the 90s sports bubble, where they just printed so many billions of cards that just everything becomes worth nothing. And that's like one of the biggest threats to like Pokemon's long-term sustainability is that people start to perceive that it's not worth anything. And that, like if they can just keep up that optic, I mean, what actually can stop Pokemon in their trajectory?
Mason, you might be able to fact check me on this while I'm saying this. TPCI handles everything other than Pokemon in Japan. I believe Pokemon in Korea and Pokemon in China.
Correct. Yes.
So Pokemon TPCI
North
handles
America, South America, and Europe. Yes.
Yeah, so they handle all of that. And I know that there are lacking areas of Pokemon. Or areas of growth for Pokemon, like Latin America. Like, I mean, I'm sure that the amount of cards that goes over to the UK to Europe is significantly less than what hits US. Maybe I don't know.
Well, supposedly they have a European printer now too. So
yeah, so this could be, while we might be expanding the printing of Pokemon cards, we might not even see more English cards. It might be Spanish, Portuguese. It might go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's possible. And I want to shout out to Retrospect. I saw him on a friend of the podcast, Dan's live stream. He actually, his brain kind of went down the same path of mine as the Lego collaboration that's coming. That's going to be absolutely massive. And Lego had announced a while back that they were planning on building one of their first US based facilities, because historically they've been a European company. I believe it's Denmark, where they had their original facility, and then they have one in Germany. That they're building one in the US that was slated to be done by 2027, and that was in Virginia, I believe. It's possible that somehow a deal was worked out where maybe part of that is going to be this now, and maybe they don't do it in Virginia, they do it in North Carolina, or maybe they have some kind of collaboration, because those aren't far apart, into where you could print the boxes for the Lego sets in one spot and send them to the other, things like that, and help with that logistical component, because I think that's going to bring a level of volume to Lego, which Lego, you know, is massive in terms of scale. And I think actually on their podcast they had looked it up and said it was like 3 bricks are made for every 1 Pokemon card is made or something. To give you guys like context of how large Lego
That's
is.
a lot.
But yeah, Lego is huge.
They
I
also
still
have
think it's gonna be bigger. Like I think this Pokemon collaboration is going to be unlike anything Lego's ever seen, especially if they can't keep up. Because like there are Lego sets that are made that, depending on the time of year it comes out, depending on the size of the set, things like that, that they do go out of stock for a while and you have to back order them and they can be difficult to get in. And these Pokemon ones could be that caliber of things where they're just always on back order. And then because you could take them to Amazon or eBay or wherever and flip them, they just always stay on back order. And so if they don't, you know, and Lego historically is not really that kind of a brand, right? Where, you know, people just go in and speculate and flip all the time and like things like that. Like a lot of Lego investing is more long-term speculation.
Well, welcome in the Pokemon flippers.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, is there a threshold where maybe Lego would try to avoid that situation and say, hey, we want to expand our capacity. We're going to have this US facility. Hey, we'd love to work with you guys on like some of the print facility things, the capacity there. You know, I don't know, because historically Lego is a very like, we do everything ourselves, you know, and a lot of it's like automated in terms of like production. Like they have very few human employees.
Their standards are so high, like
so high. Yeah. It's like if you guys, by the way, just fun fact for you, if you guys have never watched like a documentary on like how Lego bricks are made in their factories and facilities, it is fascinating. Like I promise you, it's one of the coolest things you can watch. You definitely should do it.
Well, it's such a simple like concept, you think, but because of how particular and strict they are, it's the reason that they're Lego and there's no one else anywhere close to them.
Well, so. And then how few humans facilitate the start to finish of a brick and sets and all of that, like because they've just built so much of it to be automated. So, you know, I definitely could see a world where someone could argue like, now this is gonna have nothing to do with Lego. I could definitely see a world though where you could argue that it could, or that it could just have to do with a lot of the different things that Pokemon's gonna have, you know, their tendrils in over the coming years in their collaborations and partnerships and everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Like, what if they just use a lot of that space to ship and make distribution for like PokemonCenter.com and ship all that stuff right there, so you don't have to worry about, you know, fulfillment centers around the country doing it. They can just ship it all out of.
Maybe they're expanding Pokemon vending machines. Maybe they need a house for that.
Maybe
That's
they do.
True. They do have a lot of those vending machines now. So
let's take up space.
Yeah. So who knows? The answer is they bought a lot of space. They're going to be able to do a lot with it in terms of printing cards, production capabilities, fulfillment, all those types of things. It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. I just, you know, it's one of those things we wanted to bring up because we think a lot of people right now are just speculating, they're going to print a gajillion more cards. All the cards are going to come back down. Everything's going to crash back down. And right now, I think a lot of that's just speculation based on a news headline that says they bought more space and we have no clue what they're doing with it. And we've been given no indication of what they're going to do with it. And there's a lot of possibilities of what a company that large of that size could do with all of that. But let's transition over now because we have another company in game, Konami and Yugioh, that are taking big steps, this time directly with their product. For the first time in many years, Yugioh is going to add a new rarity tier. Now, they've added some rarity tiers over the years. They brought back ghost rares. They've added starlight rares. They've done, you know, prismatic foils and things like that. But they are adding a new rarity, and I think it's a rarity people have been asking for years. They're calling it Overframe, and it's going to be part of the Limit Over collection. It's going to first start in Japanese, then it's going to come to English. But these are extended art rarity cards. So think of them kind of like full art, except the text box still goes over the card, which is an interesting design choice we can talk about. But they're bringing these cards to the OCG and then to the TCG to try to kind of spice things up again and maybe modernize Yu-Gi-Oh! A little bit. Now, this is a really interesting thing to happen right now because there's been a lot of talk and speculation lately about how Yu-Gi-Oh! As a game is struggling, especially compared to a lot of the other top 5 counterparts in games like Magic, Pokemon, Lorcana, One Piece, and Riftbound. And even, resident co-host here, Mason, just made a recent video talking about how Yu-Gi-Oh! Within his store is struggling, and many stores is struggling, and got a lot of community positive response towards that. And so I want to start with you, Mason, because you just had that video come out, and kind of saying, what's going on with Yu-Gi-Oh? What are you guys doing over there? Because us as retailers can't sell it. When you see this, and you see the community response that we've seen from it so far, which has been, at least from my perspective, relatively positive that I've seen, how does this as an LGS owner make you feel seeing this kind of refreshed, updated look for Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, I mean, I in the video I just put out today when we're recording this, I was talking about, I don't know if we're like quite there to like One Piece level of like stuff or SIR or Pokemon rarity kind of looking stuff, but this is good looking. We're probably in like 2012, 2015 era of stuff. We're almost there. We're almost caught up, but obviously a step in the right direction. Obviously, they look great. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be really happy with these. Something different. Finally, Konami, you finally went and changed things up on us. Wish you would have done it for the 25th anniversary. Would have been like the ideal time to do it. But okay, this is fine. How good do you guys know your Yu-Gi-Ohs? Do you guys know who all these guys are?
I know two.
I know 3 of them. So
Dark
it's Dark
Magician.
Magician, it's Shining Flare Wingman, right?
That's this one?
Yeah, I think so.
This
It's the
is
Elemental Hero,
Stardust,
and then
right?
that's Stardust.
Stardust Dragon. Okay.
Next one
yeah,
is
so sorry.
Omnimon.
Omnimon?
No, it's
That's
that was one of the prize cards at one, or like the same character as one of the prize cards. I thought at one time, maybe not though.
Where's the Jinzo, dude? That's what I want to know.
That's not
Where's the
Jinzo.
Jinzo at, dude?
That's not
all
Harpy's
I
pet
wanna
dragon
know.
either, but it should be.
Is that a Gundam?
Or Harpy's dragon. What is the last one? Is that Blackluster Soldier? That doesn't look like it, but it doesn't look like, because the sword looks weird. Yeah, I know. Everyone, all the Yu-Gi-Oh people are going to absolutely.
You guys are going to
torture
hate us.
in the
So
comments
sorry.
for this.
We're sorry.
That's Mega Blackluster Soldier.
Yeah.
Blackluster
But
Soldier.
in addition, I want to.
This kind of a little bit better.
This. I mean, I never really touched Yu-Gi-Oh. I think that text box on the front, that looks cool. The text box on the front really kind of keeps it old school Yu-Gi-Oh looking, which is that a good thing? I don't know. I don't have an opinion.
I mean, I'm fine with the text box. I mean, you got to be able to read, because they always put like a paragraph on their cards, so you got to be able to read.
I think this is an unfortunate limitation of their game, in the sense that I would have loved to have seen them just get rid of the borders completely and take these cards to pure full art. But with how much text they fit in that text box, they would still be extremely limited, because now you've got to drop shadow all that text, which means it's going to take up even more space, because you've got to give that space so they don't bleed into each other and things like that, to where now you're gaining 25% more in your text box. It might just not be possible. I do agree though, John, I think that there's probably some degree of like trying to keep a familiar aesthetic so that they don't run into a situation like Magic ran into with Universes Beyond, where all the OG Magic players were like, this doesn't even feel like Magic anymore. Like with, all these different sets. So it's probably them trying to keep a hybrid of the, let's push to new versus old. I will say that these cards specifically to me though, feel just like modernized EXs, GXs, Vs, etc. from Pokemon. So from, if you're just coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, this probably feels like a huge step up. Feels awesome. If you're coming from another TCG, however, this almost feels like you're still 8 years behind, kind of where everything else was. Now, the card treatments themselves, when you look at them, do look pretty spectacular. So I'm sure in person, it looks like it has some of the foiling of like
better than the other one.
Yeah,
for sure.
It looks like it has some of the foiling of prismatic cards, the foil text, things like that. It doesn't look like it necessarily has a new foil, but maybe it will in person.
Is there texture on that?
It doesn't.
I'm not seeing texture. That's where they
look
lose.
like it has any level of texture.
It definitely looks like there could be. Like
maybe it is embossed. Maybe they applied some of like the ultimate rare effect to it. I would have liked to have seen a little more in the way with that. I don't want to nitpick it, because it's new, it's an upgrade. I'm sure over time they can improve it.
Yeah.
And maybe they want to give themselves more space to improve down the road, which I think makes a ton of sense, right? You don't have to make the whole jump all the way. But the question I want to pose to you guys is, does this do enough for them to begin to garner the interest of fans of other TCGs, right? Whereas games like One Piece have been able to pull fans from other TCGs because their art's exceptional. They're doing some of the best treatments on cards that any game has done. Their card quality is really high. Do you think that this is at least an interesting enough of a jump right now to start to garner some of that interest if they continue to evolve it and build on it?
I mean, I think that, it's obviously a big improvement. I've heard from a couple people that said, you know, I played Yu-Gi-Oh for a long time, or, you know, I like Goat, or I'll go back and play Goat and stuff like that. But they said, yeah, I'll definitely open this and open some of this product. Just, again, it's nostalgic, like they're big main boy characters, right? But just feels similar enough to have that nostalgic vibe, but then obviously much more modernized, you know, better art on it. You got to remember, Yu-Gi-Oh cards are, you know, very, very tiny. So it's just a lot.
I think that has more likelihood of bringing in old players than it does grabbing people from other games. Is
For
my
sure.
like
Yeah.
that's where I'm at with it.
And that could be huge for them, right? Yu-Gi-Oh! At one time had one of the largest player bases. Still overseas, they definitely still have one of the largest player bases, one of the best-selling games. But, you know, so that even that could just be enough for them. But I want to actually, Mason, if you can pull that image back up real quick, because I want to highlight something there that we haven't talked about yet, which is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is also with these bring in serialized cards. In fact, this one right here is a serialized version of,
It is?
of this card. Yes. So that you can see it's right down there in the bottom left. It's real small. It's that little black box that has an etch out. Yeah.
Sure.
And so we're actually looking at the serialized version, which is a little more of a souped up version in terms of the rarity. Like the border's black. It comes over a little bit over the picture and everything.
So this is an extra copy. Got it.
No.
Wow, already.
This is probably
dude.
it's probably
Yikes.
like a pre-production proof or something like that. But it's so they're also bringing serialized cards. So I want to ask now that I just asked you, is this enough? And you said it's enough to bring in old people. Now they're like older fans, not old as an age, but now they're doing out of 100 serialized cards. It seems they're all out of 100, regardless of the print run amount. They're all going to be out of 100, which lends two questions. One, is it enough to garner interest now? And will that start to generate some collector activity, some market activity? But two, it makes me think that the print run itself is going to be limited, because your second print, in theory, would not be able to have the out of 100 unless they held some back, and you would feel like they would have to disclose that you didn't have enough chance. That's the tricky thing with serialized cards in a product. And so is this product going to be extremely difficult to find because of these? So I want to throw all that. I know that was a lot.
Also, do we know that the serialized stuff is in the packs?
Correct. From
Is
our
that a
understanding,
thing? Like-
it's like a
sorry, I'm
higher
not sure.
rarity of it is the understanding that you
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like, I'm a big
Grandmaster Rare, by the way, is what they are being called. Grandmaster Rare.
I'm big on like the IPs bringing me over, so like this isn't doing much for me. The numbered cards, absolute, like that is a short-term play. It is not a long-term thing in my mind. Like, yeah, I'll maybe buy a box or two just to go for it. I think there will definitely be hype around the first ones that come out. I mean, look at the Chocobos from Final Fantasy. I mean, if you compare it directly to Magic, I mean, there's a huge disappointment after Final Fantasy that the Marvel set, the Spider-Man set, did not have numbered cards in it, and people were blaming it on that being the fact that it didn't do as well. So just based off of the most recent experience in cards with Magic, I think that having numbered cards will do a lot for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Well, it's kind of like, oh, go ahead, Mason. Go ahead.
Do you think that Yu-Gi-Oh is, I think, the only card game that has first edition still, first edition unlimited cards? Can they make a first edition serialized and then an unlimited serialized if they wanted to reprint?
I guess they could, right?
Or they could just not serialize the unlimited, technically.
Yeah, well,
just
and they
do
have the
a
two
first
rares,
edition
right? So it
print.
could end up being like the Grandmaster rares only appear in the first edition, and then the other set doesn't have them. You would think, though, that would really dampen the sell-through of the second edition.
Yeah, but they're not secretive on like their first and unlimited when they do that. I haven't done it in a long time.
Sure, so
but
that's
they
true.
think
I'm just
it's
saying, like,
obvious.
as a store, right, are you going to want that unlimited print?
Well,
if it doesn't have the chase. You know what I mean? Like,
would
so
you have
there
wanted
is
it
that risk.
anyways?
First
Question.
time around.
But I actually think though that is a really interesting dichotomy, that you could print an unlimited version that's also out of 100, and so it's almost like a tiered version. And so what you would have happen is kind of like what One Piece first set did, where they had alpha versions of Nami, beta versions of Nami, and then they had the errata version of Nami. You'd almost have this, right? Your first edition out of 100, your unlimited out of 100, then your over rare out of first edition, then your over rare unlimited, right? And so like,
no, thank you.
That sounds so Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not even
It
funny.
does
but
sound
that, no,
pretty
actually,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
but you say that, but that's every game. That's every, like, look at sports, right? You've got your 1 out of 1 red, or out of 5 red parallel.
Yeah,
then you've got
there's
your
the
1 of 1 black. You've
refractors
got
and
your
then-
great, like,
yeah,
it's every game is doing these tiers, right? Riftbound, you're over numbered with signature, you're over numbered without signature, you're full art, you're regular art. Every game has.
Are we
this.
going to get numbered in English, or is it only numbered in Japanese?
I believe it's going to be both.
It has to
I
be
believe,
both.
I believe
They
we're
wouldn't
getting
do it in
serialized
Japanese
both.
and not in English.
Don't
I
say
would be
that.
surprised if we didn't get it in both. And so
We've seen plenty of things only done in Japan that weren't done in English.
That's true. But
Maybe
it
not
will get a
Yu-Gi-Oh.
lot more of these answers as it comes up. But it is a really interesting thing to note, because this is what could start to garner a lot of bigger sales prices, right? Some of these cards sell for really high, which creates a lot more demand for these boxes, even if because some, like, sorry, I've got like a million thoughts going through my head at once. The Yu-Gi-Oh sets right now tend to struggle because they'll have like one really top end card or two really top end cards, and then everything else ends up being worth nothing. And so if one or two of those cards tends to struggle that they thought were going to be really good, the whole set bottoms out, and then it becomes really difficult for stores to sell, or people just go buy singles and they don't chase the cards, and the sets themselves don't perform very well. These could help that, because we've already seen historically from other games that all it takes is one card worth a few $1,000s, and people are willing to lottery chase that card regardless of everything else in the set. And now this might give the, like, instead of the lottery chase being an $80 card, it's an $8,000 card. And those types of sales numbers are the things that, you know, if somebody says, well, I'm not going to spend $40 to gamble to get 80 when my odds are 1 in 50, but I'll spend $40 to try to win 8,000, to try to win 12,000, because that's how they equate it, right? You're not actually winning, you're just getting a card. But that's the reality. That's how people equate it.
I think it'd be cool if they did like half of those are Japanese out of 100 and the other half are English out of 100, so they split it up somehow to really.
Yeah, but now you're mixing OCG and TCG. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. That's how they refer to it in Japan. Is the card game is the OCG. So the official card game or whatever. But so yeah, I think it could really help Yu-Gi-Oh's stale box problem that stores tend to run into. I don't know, Mason, if you have any thoughts on this, because you're kind of the one that gets hung with a lot of these boxes in store. But it does feel like, to me, that could be the turning point if some of these have really big sales come through.
Yeah, I guess that's why maybe Serialized is going to be pushed to kind of give people more eyes on it, maybe give it some more prominence when, you know, it first drops. Doing it out of the first set, you know, out of the gates, you know, you're breaking the card frame and you're putting serialized stuff on. It's just a double whammy of hopefully, you know, people that are interested in getting hype up for that stuff, which is, I'm assuming that's the goal, is to get people that are wanting to chase some stuff. So, you know, if serialized stuff is just maybe for like these rarity collections or whatever these collections end up being, maybe that's just like for their, you know, the bigger, more tentpole products of the year. That could be interesting. And then, you know, maybe the regular sets have just these kind of full art kind of things. That would probably be good. But having these and serialized on top of it for every set, I don't know. That's
a lot.
It's a lot to do. Like, do they have to do both of those things? Another thing, like,
yeah, you know, and the question is, we don't know, right? We don't know if this is a one-time thing for a serialized product, like that this is a special product. We don't know if this is going to be every set, but it definitely signals one thing. We want to try to cater to collectors, right? Because there's going to be regular versions of these that if you're a player, you can still go for. And I think that's one of the biggest differences for Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Historically, a lot of like their secret rares, which were their top end, and sometimes then there were prismatic versions that were maybe the collector chase. but were generally still expensive in the chases of sets, and you needed them to play. Whereas now, it's almost like the stuff that people are going to be chasing, there's going to be a common version that's probably not going to be worth nearly as much that the players are going to be able to go after. So it begs the question, if those collectors show up because, hey, we're signaling, we're going to start catering and doing things for collectors, that could really help the product scale in terms of things for players versus things for collectors. And then they don't have to make those player things nearly as rare to carry the box. But if the collectors don't show up and the player things get devalued because now they've created this echelon system and the lower echelons aren't worth as much, now you might have just nuked all of your products completely, because now the player sales that were driving before aren't driving because everything's cheap, and the collectors still aren't chasing the top things. I find that hard to believe. I think serialized cards just have a stigma to them that they are valuable. It causes people to chase them, and I still think there's tons of people out there that love these characters, and I definitely think that there's more than 100 of them. And so,
they're gonna grab like sports people too with this, which is something like
correct.
that they haven't been able to do probably
Well,
ever.
people will be,
I
you know,
mean,
ripping these on stream, and
yeah, this is gonna be huge
Yeah,
breakings.
Yu-Gi-Oh hasn't
and-
had the big
yeah.
like interesting chase things that a lot of other games have had. Because even if you take like Pokemon that doesn't do serialized cards, if you factor down like how many booster box are printed, how many packs are printed, all the different versions of an alt art you can get, and then you take the fact that VMAXs are harder to get than Vs, etc. Moonbryon might as well be serialized, just serialized to like 50,000 instead of like 1,000. But 50,000 when there's millions of people is still an interesting serialized card, right? And so it's no different than if you just make a really rare card in a set without a serialized. A serialized is just like a signal to people. And so I think that this is going to garner some of that collector interest. It'll be interesting to see how much of a footprint that can really cause Yu-Gi-Oh to have, because, you know, and we don't have to like pull up the data or anything, but TCG Player had put out some of their data for their sales. So I think it was through Q4 or Q3, and Yu-Gi-Oh had struggled in that data. Yu-Gi-Oh was down. We saw that, you know, Riftbound was surging up, Lorcana was up, One Piece had broken into the top 3, Magic and Pokemon were the other 2. Yu-Gi-Oh was really beginning to struggle in that category. And so you know, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how Yu-Gi-Oh performs with this. We'd love to know everyone's thoughts out there, that when you go to the comment section after you hit the subscribe button, to let us know, what do you guys think? Is it going to help Yu-Gi-Oh? Is it going to move it into that upper echelon? And is this enough to make it compete with other TCGs on what feels like a modern level, right? Are the over frames enough? Or is the serialized, you know, kind of pushing it to being enough, because games like Pokemon really haven't done the serialized, and One Piece hasn't done the serialized within a set yet. They just do it as their prize support. Is that going to be enough? Because that's the other big thing. Magic did their serialized cards. They've done a few in sets in their collectors, boosters, universes beyond, but they don't really do a ton of them in like their primary set. I guess maybe they do now, but they didn't originally. But most other games don't.
Secret Lair, they did like the Legend.
Yeah, and I think they've had a few in like main sets, but they did, you know, early on they didn't. Now they do it a lot more. But outside of Magic, most games don't really put them within their products. It's more like tournament prize cards, things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see, and will that start a new trend in the industry? So let us know what you guys think. Maybe we'll pull a few comments from next time and talk about them and see how that develops. But it'll be interesting to see if, you know, the impact it has for Yu-Gi-Oh, but also the impact that it has on the rest of the industry, and if that starts a new wave of serialized cards within set products. But let's transition over, because we ask you guys for your thoughts on that, but we've heard a lot of community thoughts and other company thoughts on the response to Collectors Universe and PSA purchasing Beckett. Now, we talked about this on the last podcast, the fact that, you know, this is one of the OG companies in the hobby, Beckett, the home of the Black Label, getting bought by effectively the same company that owns PSA. It used to be publicly traded, now is private, and they're still going to operate as separate companies according to them. But it's one of those situations now where you never know. I think there's a lot of speculation on, is this good for the industry? Do people really feel like they've got different options now? And so, yeah, I want to start. Mason's got some of the CEO responses. We've had a CEO response from Tag, and we've had a CEO response from CGC about this acquisition.
Okay, so we have a message from CGC CEO Steve. Is it Eichenbaum? Ooh,
Eichenbaum.
Nice trip.
this,
Let's
bro.
go.
Went to the wrong continent there. Sorry.
Did you say Eichenbaum?
I thought he said Ichiban, like a Japanese restaurant.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Like is that the ramen? No.
Let's
Just
just
these announcements only reinforces what I've been saying for a while. CGC is the clear choice for collectors. We offer fast turnaround times, consistent grading, better holders, great customer service, all done with integrity.
That's my juggernaut.
CGC is part of the Certified Collector Group, which has graded more than 100 million collectibles since 1987.
Wow.
Including Superman comic that is a world record, apparently. We are the world leader in coins, banknotes, comic books, magazines, and the fastest growing grading service in cards. We not only serve more categories than any other grading service, but also more regions with offices in the US, UK, Europe, United Arab Emirates, and China.
Great. So the whole second part of that message seemed like it was just a marketing campaign, but
he's just flexing on them now.
The first part of that message was much more interesting. Specifically, the last line. I know we've got one from Tag as well, but the last line here that was, we offer fast turnaround times, consistent gradings, the best holders, and great customer service.
They're not wrong.
All done with integrity.
The integrity
line there feels really odd to me because it's almost like implying like that like the other companies aren't doing it with integrity. And maybe I don't think that's probably what was meant, but whoever PR
there's a lot there. There's a lot of
yeah.
Little corporate speaky for me.
Yeah, it felt very loaded to me with I don't
also for a company that just created a ton of
I don't love which, hey, to be fair, it sounds like they are making that right, but I don't love the I like the we believe we're great, here's why, not we believe we're great because other guys aren't great type messaging. And I just rise above it kind of thing. But at the end of the day,
when PSA goes low.
Yeah, but before we jump into our thoughts, Mason, do you have the Tag one for us?
Yep, I got it right here.
Yep, let's pull that one up.
I'm curious to see what CGC's numbers look like after the price hike.
Time.
A different sentiment.
Lots more wordies in this one. This is from Steve Cass, founder.
Wordy, dude.
There's lots of wordies from Tag here. PSA has helped the industry and scale has contributed to the blah blah blah. Combining two opinion-based systems does not create more transparency, consistency, or accurate population data. This is a scale move about volume, pricing power, auxiliary service, and profit. That's basically all that is.
Shade.
So
I like it.
Yeah, all the rest is
wait, hold on.
Advertising for them.
Isn't Tag all about AI, or they say
correct? And that's what they say later, that it effectively goes on talking about manual grading, regardless of size or self-proclamation of greatness, cannot eliminate subjectivity and fully. So they're kind of his message is combating back, in a similar way that CGC's is we do all of these things great, and we sold this really expensive comic. Theirs is we do all of these things, and it doesn't have human objective bias into it, and these companies do. So this one's a little interesting because it directly mentions PSA and Beckett, which I think CGC avoided, even though it's very apparent that's who they're talking about. But I think the big interesting thing is that essentially the two largest rivals, I would say at this point, to PSA/Beckett, which are still separate companies from from the understanding of the message, which this one actually says combining two opinion-based systems. I don't think they're actually combining them, but they are under the same umbrella.
They might. We don't know if they will.
We don't know. But it brought out the CEOs to make a statement. And we've also seen statements from a lot of community members, a lot of influencers about this, specifically around the fact that, in fact, we even got statements on our last video about the fact that less competition is bad for the end consumer. And historically, that is true, right? It's why monopolies generally in business are not allowed to form, at least within the United States. Many other countries have laws against them as well. I'm not saying that this is making PSA a monopoly. That's not up for us to decide. It is up for the FTC to decide. Mason, take it away.
Yes. So Congressman Pat Ryan here put out.
Listen, last week I said Elizabeth Warren wasn't going to be knocking on our door for this one.
Yeah,
well, it's not Elizabeth Warren, but
whatever. Just saying,
her. Yeah, let's share this guy here.
This guy must be a collector because I don't think this would have came up. If
I think in his post he actually wrote that his kids are collectors. Mason will take us through it here, but
yeah. So Pat Ryan here has written a letter to the FTC chairman, wanting to look into this about antitrust stuff and monopoly practices. It says here, Collectors has consolidated over 80% of the grading volume, leaving only one independent competitor, and it controls grading capacity, price, and analytics because it also owns Card Ladder and participates in buying and selling of graded cards, which we've talked about before, is kind of creating a severe conflict of interest. Talks about his kids here, and even they know that this is getting to be one big.
You can read the quote. I think the quote's actually really interesting here.
Even my 4 and 6-year-olds who just started their collections know that this behavior is wrong. Attempts to corner the trading card market are not only deeply unpopular, they are unethical. Kids, collectors, and local card stores shouldn't have to worry that the system is stacked against them, and the FTC needs to step in before the hobby is controlled by one powerful company.
I'm calling cap on those 6-year-olds. Let's be real.
That just completely negates this for me. Like a 4 and a 6-year-old. Are you kidding me?
I want to start. Okay, look, you're going to make a plea to the FTC. You're going to make some sensationalized stuff. The interesting thing is we had said this is not going to be on any congressman, any governor, anybody's radar because who cares? It's an unregulated market. It's whatever, right? Unregulated in the sense that like it's not publicly traded or whatever. Except the thing we forgot about, there are many congressmen, many governors, many senators, many people in the House that now have kids that are younger themselves, that
insider
they could be involved in the hobbies. We always think about people that work, in the government that, they don't have hobbies, but they do. And so if your kids are in cards and then you see this go on, you might not like that. And man, there's a lot of constituents out there that are also into cards. That's a pretty interesting thing to take up a position on. And so it's also a thing that's going to get your name in the headlines, right? Did any of you know who Pat Ryan was before this? Probably not. And so,
but does he have our votes?
It is interesting. And so now, will this go anywhere? Who knows, right? Who knows? But the things that, Pat is asking for the commission to investigate: monopolization, serial acquisition patterns. So talking about their acquisition of SGC and now Beckett, regulatory invasion, good faith representations, the erosion of competition, price and policy coordination. So that's kind of talking about, things I would assume like Card Ladder and stuff like that. Barriers to entry, market manipulation. That one directly, they mention, pricing data through Card Ladder in the marketplace itself. These are a lot of very serious accusations, or not accusations, but asking them to investigate that these things could be occurring. And, when companies get to the size of collectors, or is it collectors or collectivist holdings? I believe it was called Collectors when it was on the stock market. But
Collectors Holding
Collectivist is the parent holder for Beckett.
Yeah. Now this would be a great OCPC or off center if we were political. Does Pat Ryan get our vote?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean it is kind of surprising to see this so quickly. I mean it's I forget what my side of the conversation was, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, all these pieces going together where you have a company that is assigning a grade, which essentially assigns a value, and then they also have the public pricing model to share publicly on those cards that they assign the value on. It's just a lot of conflicts of
There's
interest here.
there's so much room for it to get messy. Like there's so much room for it to get muddy because of card ladder, because of the prices that they're charging on the power packs, like the floors and the ceilings of those. They're putting the buybacks at inflated prices. Like
Well,
Which, to
their
be
buy
clear,
prices on PSA too.
GameStop, separate company from PSA, but does seem to have some degree of partnership with the grading and the vault services and things like that, which also, like, so there's overlap there. And in GameStop, I'm just giving the context. GameStop uses card ladder pricing, which is done by PSA. PSA has buyback services for cards. We don't know why they're buying back cards, but they do seem to be buying back cards. Could it be for that or other, mystery bags, things like that? But I think that's what this is unraveling, and kind of what Thrifty's alluding to is, that a lot of the things that it seems like PSA has been involved with in terms of their expansion over the last, year, 18 months, 2 years, it doesn't seem like we know what all the pieces are, how they're all integrating together, which then makes it harder to really understand,
the thing is, it should
what
just
is
be more
PSA and what do they
streamlined.
have influence over.
Like
And yeah, go ahead.
I'm like, basically the fact that if you go on the PSA app right now and you look up a card and it doesn't match the card ladder price, there should be no, like, the algorithm should not be different, in my
There
opinion.
shouldn't be a
Like,
discrepancy. Yeah.
why is
And
that?
why is there a discrepancy, right? Yeah,
They
that's a good
run both
question.
of them.
And
Like,
so I think this leads into the bigger question, which is that first one that he's kind of asking the FTC to look into and challenge, which is monopoly. And I think this is the word that the buzzword that everyone was throwing around. It's making a monopoly. And what is a monopoly, right? A monopoly is that it essentially stifles competition from being able to be formed. I think you could have made the argument that even before SGC or Beckett acquisitions, that PSA was a monopoly. In terms of
yeah,
how
without those, you actually could have
like in terms of
already.
how much of the grading volume. But I think the difference is that competition could form and could gain market share. We saw CGC do it. We've seen Tag do it. SGC had done it. But if every time a company starts to do it, we'll just bring them in. We'll just bring them in. That starts to inflate that argument some. And I'm not smart enough to know. I don't know if any of us are smart enough to know right now, do they constitute a monopoly? That's why, we need the people at the FTC, the congressmen, all those guys to figure it out, because we're just the yahoos on the internet that talk about cards. We'll let the smart people in the big rooms with the fancy suits figure all that stuff out. Yeah, we just grade the cards, right? But it is an interesting topic, and it's interesting to see this level of scrutiny start to enter our space in the hobby. I think it's a direct reflection of how much money has flowed into the hobby in the last 5 years, how much corporate involvement in major companies have came into the hobby in the last 5 years. I mean, we have companies doing Hall of Fames now, and Creator of the Year awards and stuff like this, like we are sports or video games or something like that, when historically we've never had stuff like this. And I think this is just a byproduct of that now we're starting to see. The bigger these companies get, the more they get involved with, the more opportunities that exist for them to acquire other companies or gain revenue in different areas, that inevitably some of those companies are going to come under scrutiny. I bet PSA is not surprised by this. That would be my guess, is that, they're not surprised that they're going to get some level of scrutiny for essentially buying what most people perceive as maybe not the second largest competitor in terms of grading volume. That's probably CGC. But in terms of brand recognition, I think Beckett is probably second, at least over the long-term trajectory of grading and not just the last 5 years. And so, yeah, my guess is they're not surprised. Do you guys think they're surprised?
No, I mean the benchmark for a monopoly is.
I just don't think they thought anyone would do it. Like, they were like, let them try. Like, good luck.
Yeah,
Type
even up until I think they were still running ads through Beckett, clowning on PSA because of their turnaround times and stuff like that. I thought I still saw like a Facebook ad for Beckett, basically dissing PSA while they were actively being acquired by that company. It's just like,
maybe that's a sign that they're going to stay separate. Who knows? Maybe there'll still be banter. I don't know. It is an
there was like some
interesting-
big like conspiracy like level stuff of this. It was just like, oh, it's all shadow corporations running the grading. Like, would that not? That wouldn't be a thing. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, I tend to like steer away from all the like conspiracy theories and blah blah blah, because like the reality is, first of all, most of that stuff doesn't matter, and like it's just like junk food content on the internet. But second of all, this stuff is gonna go one way or the other, right? Either they're gonna get to keep Beckett and it's fine, or they're not gonna get to keep Beckett and it's not fine. But the reality is, nobody on the internet in a video is gonna do anything that dictates which way that goes one way or the other. In fact, it's going to be a lot of people, many of which probably don't engage in trading cards at all. If this actually did get looked into, it's going to get looked into by a lot of people that don't do much for trading cards.
Bro, could you imagine like the FTC like meetings for that? It's like, wait, it'd be like them asking Zuckerberg about what the internet is, but it's
Yeah,
just, like
yeah,
card
yeah.
version
I
of
mean,
that. It's like that'd
well,
be
and
amazing.
That's the thing too, because if you think about it, there could be a lot of people that their perception of the trading card industry is what sports cards were in the 80s or 90s, and not what it is today. Like, what do you mean a card ladder? Like the cards go out, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like, and so it's it's
Where
one of
is
those
this
things-
ladder? And
yeah, and who's climbing it? I would be surprised to to see. You know what I would love though is if they do it. If they research into it, let's live stream the whole thing. Like, let's live stream the whole thing so we can all make content.
Johnny
on it, so
Depp
we can
it
all
hard.
live watch-
Yeah,
exactly,
just-
dude. When Asmongold live streamed the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, that was some of the greatest weeks on the internet.
That was Squeaks'
I hope
best.
that Mason gets
time,
called
dude.
in to testify.
Oh yes.
me,
We're all going.
He's
This
qualified
podcast
here
is gonna
to-
call. We're gonna all get called to testify now. That's which they don't know me very well, because I'm just gonna plead the fifth on everything. I don't know anything.
I haven't
know
heard you
anybody.
plead the fifth lately. That's weird. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So but yeah, it's I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I didn't really expect there to be this much blowback. I did from the community, right? Everyone wants to talk, everyone wants to throw their 2 cents in, but I didn't expect this much from CEOs, from a congressman. I didn't think any of that was going to come of this, but it really just does go to show you the scale of our industry now and how large it is, how much money moves through it, and how many big players there are now that this could get on the radar, of people in politics. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. We'll keep you guys up to date as we see it. Like we said, we're all just a bunch of jokers on the internet. So if we misquoted anything or any of that, that's pure accident, because we don't know any better. We're just a bunch of dummies that are trying to figure out what's happening.
Present.
So, present dummy. What dummy one present? Right here. John's thinking I'm smart and I have this whole thing figured. I don't know what these guys.
What are we talking about?
Just said ChatGPT was good.
What was the topic again? Yeah,
Dragon Ball hasn't been brought up this episode, so I don't know what's going on.
True. Well, now it has. So, all right. Well, let's transition over to centered or off-centered. You all know the rules. I give each of these 3 jokers a topic or statement of the day, and they will tell me whether they think it's centered or off-centered. And being, centered being they agree, off-centered being they don't. And then we discuss it from there. So I've got a couple for you today. We're going to start with One Piece. Has been super hot. We've covered One Piece a few different times on the podcast. Can't get away from it. We would be remiss not to. The algorithm tells us to keep talking about One Piece, so we have to. But we've seen a lot of content creators lately making videos on it that are not One Piece creators, stating, watch out, we're from Pokemon, we know how this goes, everything's going down. So I want to ask you guys, centered or off-centered? The One Piece TCG market is going to crash in 2026. Okay, we got centered on John, who was the first in, and we have off-centered on Mason and Thrifty. So, John, I'm going to throw it to you since you had the contrarian opinion here. You believe the market's going to crash in 2026. So, crash being historically 25% or more across the board, pretty much everything.
No, everything is Everything is
He's like,
burning.
oops.
Everything's
Q3
burning.
Q3, Q4. Did we not talk about Millennium Print Group? There's going to be
They don't print one
mass.
They don't print One Piece. What's that have to do with anything?
I'm aware. Obviously, it's going to be a hot like Q1. Netflix season 2 is coming out. What March, April? Like
March. Yep.
Totally confident in One Piece going through that era. But I think I've lived through enough cycles, and I hope I'm wrong. I always hope I'm wrong when I'm being pessimistic. But I don't feel good about 2026 Q3 Q4 for any of this. I think we're in for it, and One Piece is going to be a part of that, just inherently. So, yeah, crash.
You heard it here first, everyone. Everything is crashing.
Sell it all.
Not just trading cards, eggs, gas, everything. It's all going down. All of it.
Major crash. All of your animation cells. I paid at the peak. I'll buy more at the bottom.
Squeaks, how much did that Red Luffy manga sell for?
There was a Beckett Pristine that just sold for 18,000, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was using it to say no, it's on the up. Like everybody, it's true, and you're like, nah,
that's a set card. So it's a card you pull out of a booster box.
Look, I'm confident from this point in time, right? Like it's going to go up from here. You said 18K. It's going to go up from here, but it's going to be a crash from the
up to
this
where
moment in time.
You can't just say up.
I don't
know.
But that doesn't matter because it's going to be 25% at least lower than the 18.
Down from where?
Okay, so you're saying down from the 18,000, it'll be at least 25% down from that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I hope I'm wrong.
So 4.5K lower, so you're looking at 13,500. John saying by Q3 of next year, Q3, Q4.
That feels high, even actually. Looking, I don't know.
So you think it could go down even more?
See,
okay, that one big
cut,
just like the big.
You said OC Thrifty. Are you flipping right now?
She's flipping. I got her.
It's one card too.
Like, it's one card. That's the thing. Is like one big chase card does not a whole ecosystem make, my friend.
That'll be my argument, so we'll be fine.
Just allow it, There's a lot of interest. The show is going to increase that. Like, they're already doing the things they're supposed to do. Like, they're already doing well. They're grabbing Pokemon people. Like,
but does that hurt them? Because are those people truly interested?
Those are like fickle fans or whatever. Like
fake fans, fake news.
I like that. That's a nice term.
Fickle fans. You heard? Oh, we should. Yeah.
Listen, I got good words too. So
that should be the title of the Fickle Fans.
Fickle fans and serialized monsters.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, John. As the maybe not the resident One Piece guy, because I think you guys all like One Piece to some degree, but
I think we're okay with you saying that you're
the resident One Piece guy here. I agree with John. I think the market is going to get obliterated. I think there's going to be certain things, just like anything,
obliterated.
I think that there will be certain things that are truly rare, but if you look across the board in One Piece right now on like the TCG player graphs and stuff, I mean, that stuff is going to the moon, straight up. I mean, straight up graphs. We saw this in Pokemon. Go look at a lot of those graphs now 6 months later, and a lot of those have went back down historically. And Mason, I know we have the meme, the Entei graph from Crown Zenith, because that one's done it like 3 times or something, where it goes straight up and then back down, then straight up and then back down, because people are always trying to pump that card. And like,
going, John.
If you look at a lot of the One Piece graphs, it's just straight up. And I want to be clear, I think part of it is because there's a large disparity right now between graded premiums and raw cards, where we had talked previously and I said graded's really taking off in One Piece, and I had made the claim that it's getting larger than raw cards, which is clearly not true, and Thrifty called me on it, but that it is growing a lot. And I think that we're starting to see the effects of that, where now there's even more people that want graded cards, and even more people coming in that want graded cards, and now all these investors that are coming in, they're like, well, where are all the graded cards at? That's what you invest in. And that historically wasn't a thing. Like, people weren't grading as much, so the ones that were really cashing in. Well, then you've got PSA backlogs and backlogs of other grading companies and things like that to combine, where right now you can't get cards through, so those supplies are depleting, and there are these massive gaps between a $30 raw card that you can grade, and if it's a 10, it's $200. And it's so many things across the board. So many $10 cards are 100 graded. We're going to watch that gap close.
Because there shouldn't be that gap because of the print quality of One Piece. You know this better than anybody. Like,
I think for a lot of people, there is a convenience level. Like, you know, if
but
enough about One Piece.
Like,
John's over One Piece. But yeah, I agree with you though. I think there should be that gap.
People just don't realize that yet. I think the Pokemon people
it's a
are
new
just
market.
used to crappy print runs and like
it's a new market. It's still finding its stabilization. I do think some of these are going to have larger gaps that hold. I think a lot of these gaps are going to consolidate in. And
the great thing is we have a new baseline. Whatever it goes down to will probably be higher than what it was before. That's fantastic for One Piece. It's great for TCGs. It's great for
everyone. True. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Next one I got for you guys. Centered or off-centered. Starter decks should not have chase cards or chase pulls in them. So while you're voting, kind of like Starter Deck 100, you can find the special deck that has like the gold Charizard in it, which Thrifty told you it was going to be in there.
You know,
should have taken that bet.
Yeah, there's been others historically with like the alternate art Gengar, things like that. So they should not have them in there. Is that a centered take or not? Should not. The deck should not have chase cards.
I'm doing the math in my head on the double negatives, or well, there isn't a double negative, but
in John's head, it's all negative.
Putting random SAR stuff into starter decks. Do you like that?
So do you want do you want starter deck cards to have chases?
Starter deck cards. Okay, now we're changing it. What? Starter decks
to have chase cards.
Yeah.
Like an alternate art.
Well, you said
like
there was
Gengar.
Okay, there was a second part to the way you phrased it the first time, but I'm going to go with OC.
Starter deck should not have chase cards or chase pulls in them.
See chase pulls.
We're all OC, I think, on this.
No, Mason was centered.
Sorry, I'm centered.
Mason, yes. Yeah, you haven't voted, Mason. Are you thinking?
No, I was there.
We were centered. Sorry.
Okay,
we all got to do it together.
Again.
Yeah, Mason's centered. Okay, Mason, I'm going to throw it to you then, because these two, John's off-centered clearly all the time in his own head. He probably still doesn't even know what the question is. But
I forgot the question and remembered it again. We're good.
Let me spit my bars, and then
spit your bars. Why should
pick a side then? Okay, John.
Not have chase cards.
Yep.
So these items are called starter decks, as in like they're for beginners, new people to get in and learn the game. And there's 100 different versions of them, which is in itself a bad product design. But okay, let's keep it going. Double down on the fact that they have all these chances for these high rarity cards that are only in those, which is also like a and then they're weighable. Now, why Pokemon would create a product that is randomized stuff out of 100 different things, and you would not find a way to counter them being weighable or able to be searched is beyond me. I don't like the product as a whole in general, but they definitely shouldn't have big fancy chase cards in there. That's just is crazy to me.
So, well, real quick, before we counter, because I already see John's revving up, what about, let's take Starter Deck 100 aside. What about like the ones where you could get like an alternate art Gengar instead of the regular one in it?
Yeah, like even our English League Battle decks that had the Haunter and the, what is it, a
But that's not a chase though, because
it was the Deancey or Meloetta.
It's the only way to get that card.
Chase. But that's not a chase. That's there. It's transparent. You see
it's the only way to get that card.
In Japan, the Japanese decks had, it was like 1 out of 6 had the Gengar or something like that. The alternate,
I like
regular.
that.
Yeah, there was the Inteleon and the Gengar. They did.
Yeah. So that is also a chase because you're buying those decks to try to get that one. So Mason.
So the way that Mason's phrasing it, I agree with. The very specific situation that we're dealing with right now with the 100, the deck, whatever. I agree. But in general, your first point, these theme decks, these decks, terrible products. They don't sell for anybody. They're not good.
Me, I want them.
Well, yeah.
You're one of a few, though. I can assure you.
These are LGS products for players.
Riftbound theme
Right,
decks
Team
have a
CG.
pack in it. Metazoo theme decks have a pack in it. The old Dragon Ball Z score theme decks, you can get a foil rare or even an ultra rare every now and then. Like there's a pack element to it. So I think that these theme decks need a little additional oomph. They need that extra. They need that pack
It's
in
fine.
there. They need that.
Throw an extra pack in there.
Yeah,
But for
that's
exclusive cards only in those items, doesn't make sense.
I
But
agree with that.
okay, so I want to challenge you. Historically, theme decks have been some of the worst products. Distributors don't want them because stores don't buy them, because they don't sell, they don't move, they don't retain value. This has been what the industry it led to and modified because stores weren't buying them, distributors didn't want to hold them, companies were getting them as returns. So that led to here. And so it sounds like you're like, no, I want old theme decks. Well, clearly the market and the industry didn't want old theme decks. So what is the solution then? And like, I guess what I'm not understanding is why do you have a different viewpoint than seemingly the whole rest of the industry? Because the evolution of the industry is what led to the creation of the products like this.
I assume that it's got to be that, yes, to get them to move, for there to be a bigger buyer pool, there has to be some sort of gotcha mechanic to them. Which, okay, cool. Gotcha's huge in Japan. Gotcha's great. Awesome stuff. But when you make something that is for a player, and a player can't get this item because all these collectors are buying them out, trying to chase for these things, or even worse, they're being manipulated and basically cheated out of the best cards because the vendors can weigh these items and get all the best stuff before they even get their hands on them. That's a problem.
Well, they just sell them the internal theme deck portion as you did before.
Do you know how
at
many?
a cheaper
You know how
price.
expensive these starter deck 100s are right now? These are
They're
$6
ridiculous,
decks
aren't they?
in Japan.
Are they like
To
200
get them
or
here
something?
by case is $34.
$40 a piece. Yeah,
Oh wow!
But
crazy.
That's insane.
Pause. That's because it's by case, so that you still have the chance to get it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so
There's
you
always
don't
a
get
there's a
scammed.
premium on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but would you not argue for a player, because you made the argument for players to be able to get them so they can learn to play the game, that those decks being able to be weighed out, meaning that any loose deck that's on the market is going to be presumed to have already been searched, meaning they will be significantly cheaper. Is that not more player friendly and more accessible because your player wanting to learn to play the game can buy the cheaper already weighed deck if they don't care about the chase and just want a cheap entry point?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's no way to get these. Well, forget about bringing them to America because that's like irrelevant. You're still introducing opportunity for these items to be manipulated, which goes against the entire principle of the product, which is like,
Okay,
hey,
but it
let's
sounds like
reward
your
people
issue
for
is more
playing
with
the
the
game.
weighing of the deck, not the fact that it has a chase card. Like, if say the deck couldn't be weighed, do you have a problem with it then?
I have less of a problem.
Okay, so your issue is not like the question was the decks themselves having chase cards, which by the way I didn't mention starter deck 100. I just mentioned starter decks. Your issue is that the product itself can be manipulated. Now, I would argue the fact that these can be weighed, unfortunate byproduct. Happens to things sometimes.
It shouldn't happen.
We had sets.
Okay.
Sure. And I'm sure to some degree they probably didn't want it to happen. I would actually argue you have a better argument in case against things like the Gengar decks, where if you open the first one and it has the Gengar, you probably know the other 5 are dead, as opposed to this, where there's literally 100 decks and your cases are not 100, so you're not guaranteed. Meaning that, like, you're not going to rip decks out of that case to try to find it.
It's
because
every
you might not
product,
have
it's
one.
every TCG, it's every card game. You open, you get the hit on a Weiss Schwartz case. You know that's the hit, right?
I guess, Mason, the reason I'm pushing back against your critique so hard is if you don't have the chase cards, I think you also just don't have starter decks or theme decks. They are expensive to produce. They're logistically a nightmare. And so if you want a player-friendly thing, I think you have to have the downsides that come with that. And I think they're trying to find that downside. I actually think it's why they do 100 instead of a few, because your chances are low to get it, meaning that tons of those decks are going to be out there. They're not going to inflate heavily because you have to cost average for what those cards are going to be worth versus opening 100 of them with perfect averages. Now, the weighing part's going to ruin that, sure. And I'm sure they would also love if they couldn't be weighed. I'm sure everyone would love that. I'm sure they'll look at it in future runs of them. But I'm not sure that the actual product construction itself is flawed. I actually think it's a really well-designed product for exactly why you want it.
But it could be better.
I think that if you are introducing this as a collectible product that collectors want to go after, it defeats the purpose of it being a deck. You may as well just make like a mini set and just throw packs, just sold packs. If that's the case, why make decks and waste all that print capacity to make these decks? Then why do that? Why not just make packs?
To try to get people to play the game. Now they already have a deck that's built that they can play with.
But if there's these big giant chase cards in there, people are just going to rip decks and then throw those away. Just like it's McDonald's all over again.
Do people throw them away or do they sell them?
Most will throw them away. Most consumers will throw them away.
I really want that Morpeko deck from the starter 100.
Well, I'm just saying, again, your argument was for player accessibility. Those are cheap decks that people can go out and buy.
Players don't want that stuff anymore, right?
It will like lower the price of certain cards, like Lily's Determination. There's like a bunch of those. There's like Hilda's in there and stuff like that. It'll lower the playable card prices like for the regular rarities, but it just kind of is a lottery ticket for everything else, like, which doesn't feel good. Like I don't know.
I just think it creates accessibility. Like your argument for why it's bad is actually why it's like great for players.
Except for the hits though. Like not the hits though. It's not creating accessibility of the hits. It's actually pulling them into the hands of the people that get the distribution for those things.
Yeah, sure. I'm assuming the average player is not wanting to chase those big cards over the value of cheap entry price point. Right?
I mean, if you're buying something though, you want a chance at something good though. Like
I agree, which is why I hope it's not weighable, right? Like in the future, I'd hope they'd not be weighable. But the existence of the product by design, because more people are buying those decks to try to get that thing than what actually want them, they're going to put more of those decks back into the market, meaning there will be a surplus, more supply than what there is demand of the 99 like not as good decks, right?
But that's booster more packs in general.
Less demand, price goes down, cheaper entry point.
But that's
they are effectively.
I'm muting Squeaks. Go ahead, Mason.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's crap. No. Okay, so what? The one time we have a good argument, we're going to mute it? No, that's crap. Literally.
But booster packs
are consolidating the money from the collector chase. And like the collectors are paying for the players to get cheap decks. Like that's what's happening.
But it's not.
And we're like, and we're mad about it. That makes no sense.
That's like saying I'm ripping all these packs, and you're welcome, players, for me opening all this bulk for you. Like what? That's that's not sensible. Hey, players, your cards are cheaper than they ever have been before, and your trainers don't cost $2 a piece anymore because now there's 90 to 10 collectors versus players in the hobby, and now your decks are 30.
They want the
Do you think it's a coincidence? No. Do you think it's a coincidence that this game shifted to collectors primarily over players, and decks are cheaper than they ever have been before to play the game? That is not a coincidence. That is a byproduct that 90% of your product that gets opened is by people that only want top-end chases and flood the rest of the crap back into the market, and that crap then becomes cheap because there's way more of it than what there are players, and so then Pokemon becomes the most affordable game to play. That is absolutely true. And starter decks are just, like, starter deck 100s are just a reflection of that ecosystem at work on a small scale in a deck.
So the playables are cheaper and everything else is a bazillion dollars. Great.
Correct. But players don't need to play with blinged out decks.
It doesn't mean they don't want to.
They want to. They get made fun of if they don't anymore. That they're bullies out there, Squeaks.
All right. You know what? Okay, we're clearly not going to agree. Who wins, chat? Put it in the comments. Who wins? I want to know who wins. I'm pretty like this is the hill I'm willing to die on. I'm so dead on this hill right now. Chat, who wins? Who wins? We need to know. Let us know in the comments.
Which side are you on, John? Now that we
John's playing both sides, it's just like, oh yeah, and then he's gonna know which one won.
I just want to
mute John. Mute John's double sided. Yeah, I'll put one in the binder for that. Yeah, put one in there. Wow. That's right. That's right.
I'm going to show Roman this in 20 years.
Well, if it's in 20, he'll be 22,
Okay, fine.
and he
10,
probably won't
10,
care.
10.
Yeah. All right. Okay,
You
I've
need to send
got
me a card
one
fund, by the
more.
way. This is not right. I should not have to fund all these cards. This
I'll
podcast.
give you a replacement. I literally was looking around like, do I have a card near me? But I don't.
Just cut one of those ancient Muse off. This and that.
Yeah.
All right. Man, see, now it's so spicy. I don't even know if I should give this last one because I also feel like this one would be spicy. Okay. Centered or off-centered, Ascended Heroes is going to be a better set than Crown Zenith. Don't look at hers and then...
No.
All right, we're going to
ask-
start
I was
keeping
gonna
points,
ask
and
you-
I'm going to find John every time John tries to look for somebody else's answer.
I was
before he
leaning
puts
in to
it.
say something. There's clarifications in there.
Okay,
better-
what clarification do you need?
Better in what way? Financially, collectability, playability.
The word better. You decide.
All right, fine.
My better is not going to be your better. It's
All right,
fine.
Thrifty, you had centered, correct? And they both have off-centered. So you think Ascended Heroes is going to be better.
Listen,
Tell us
it's a fun set to open. They have SARs. There's a new type of rarity that we haven't seen before. There is great characters. There's Gengar. There's Dragonite. There's I can't think of any
Crown
more
Zenith
now.
on all these. Yep.
Gengar and Dragonite are not in Crown Zenith.
No, but there's great characters. There's new rarities. There's great.
There's
pull rates,
weird characters in Crown Zenith. Let's be real. Hisuian Samurott, dude. Calm down.
Suicune, Entei,
Okay.
Leafeon,
That's not okay. Those
Arceus,
aside,
all the gold cards.
Giratina, all the
Okay,
gold
okay.
cards.
Okay,
Like,
first of all,
gold
I have to
cards
challenge.
in-
Thrifty says it's a fun set to open because she's basing on Japanese, but you absolutely could have like an Evolving Skies situation where like the pull rates feel terrible.
if it's bad
And
pull
Crown-
rates, then I'm out.
Crown Zenith is
Yeah, it
fun to
could be-
open. Aren't the pull rates
could be
great?
Prismatic
Crown
Evolution
Zenith has
only.
one of the arguably best
If
like
it's-
pull rate set
if it's
fields
Prismatic
that we've had in a
Evolutions,
long time.
So
I'm
look,
jumping.
like Crown Zenith came out and it didn't like do that hot to start, right? Like people didn't really enjoy
People
it that
liked
much.
it.
People
But
liked
they-
it. It was just the cards weren't super valuable, and let's be
Yeah.
honest, everyone's
Which
perception
is,
of how good a set is how much money do they make off it. Even though we're all true collectors and not scalpers,
And
right?
cards are
Not
worth as
one.
much as people like them. So did they really like it if it wasn't that expensive? So Crown Zenith was pretty flat to start for a good amount of time.
Because they had a ton of supply too.
Yeah, it had a ton of supply. It was kind of before the hype really picked up again. But then it took off in the recent times, right? Around
even now, it's very expensive. I mean,
yeah,
packs
so
are still
it's-
going up in price. Yes.
how much are they? What, $15-20 a pack? What are they?
Yeah, but John,
20.
you know how this is
20,
going
I
to
think.
go. You know how this is going to go. Have you seen the allocation numbers on Ascended Heroes? Oh my God, guys! Ascended Heroes is the greatest set of all time. You can
Well,
pull this like
they're
$800
both-
Dragonite. You pull this like whatever.
They're
Like
both
here,
specialty sets
yeah.
too, right? So
it's
they
going
have
to
the
be the
same release
greatest
schedule.
set ever made because
They're going to talk about how
the
short
value
printed it
of the cards
is
is high.
and yada.
Every new set is the greatest set ever made. The quote.
Correct, because the expected value is high. If this came out, like, okay,
But will it be better? No.
I agree with you. I'm making the same argument. Like, I'm actually countering Thrifty on this one. I think that is recency bias, saying Ascended Heroes is going to be better. If you look at just the
Here's the
vast
thing: do we even
amount
know all
of
the cards in
in
Ascended
Crown.
Heroes? Though we don't even know all of them. They could put the
I think
starter
we-
deck 100 cards into Ascended Heroes,
Yeah,
and
we
that
know
makes
that.
the set
They're
way
almost
better.
surely
Is that
going.
Right?
Pikachu? Is that Pikachu part of that?
Yes.
Okay,
Is
if
it?
Pikachu goes in, if
Oh,
that
not the starter deck. I don't know about that.
The
but,
starter
oh,
deck cards, they could put
I
some
don't
of
know
those
about
in
that.
there, kind of.
right,
Those
that-
are
that-
no. We do know that those are probably in there because the gold Charizard that leaked in French had the same set
Is
symbol and
in
out of number that.
But is that
Dragonite.
Pikachu in it? If that Pikachu is in it,
two
We-
Pikachus in the set that are
might be
crazy. I don't know.
Might be
That seems
teetering.
crazy.
Oh yeah, they got the
Crown Pikachu.
the
Yeah.
stupid
There was
Crown
there was a
Pikachu.
Pikachu in Crown Zenith though too, and they were like,
There is two
that was a big
Pikas
one.
in
That
Crown
was a big one.
Zenith, yeah.
Because that was a premium promo in Japan, right? So maybe we do get the premium promo being the starter deck 100 Pikachu.
I think the starter deck 100 editions, could put it close.
if
is what I'm
those are
saying.
in it, if those are in it, and the pull rates are like decent, absolute. Like there is a strong argument that that's better than a Crown
That's all I'm
Zenith,
saying.
for
I
sure,
think
for
that's
sure.
Such good, like the gold cards, like the panorama card.
Those are
with all the gods.
Sure.
The like little like art rares of like
Entei,
remember, like,
Suicune,
the field,
Raikou,
like
No, the
nine
nine
art
art
and all those
cards.
guys and all that
Yeah.
stuff that all made a single page.
all the
Pikachu-
trainer
the Pikachu's
cards
great.
that were
The
cool,
Pikachu's
but now
great.
people don't value them because trainers aren't cool anymore. But like
Yeah,
there were
the
Gyarados
Galarian
in that
Gallery is what
set,
it
like
was,
all
yeah.
those ones were cool. Like that set
There's
was
a lot in that
really
set.
well constructed.
There's
It was
also
a fun
full
set.
art trainer ones in this set too. Iris is in
Yeah, but nobody
here,
cares about those
and
anymore, Thrifty.
There's no
all
KK.
right, whatever.
Sorry.
That's
Fine.
not, was that even KK Slider?
DJ KK.
Oh, DJ KK. Okay, I was like, did he have a hat? Like
So
he has like
look,
a hat and glasses on.
if those 100 card, those deck, what are they called?
Starter deck 100. The things
If
you
those
just debated
starter
about.
deck 100 promos are in it. That Pikachu, the Charizard seems to already be in it. Solid chance that it beats out Crown Zenith 100% because it's more popular Pokemon. But if they're not in it, no shot.
I don't.
It's possible.
I think the argument I was making is I don't think we're going to get an honest take on this because the cards in Ascended Heroes are almost surely going to be worth more than what the cards in Crown were with when it released, and that is how people's perceptions on how good a set is. Like, look at Dragon's Majesty today. People will be like, "Oh yeah, that was a great set." No, it wasn't. When that set released, nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it. It was a small set, had crap in it.
No one wants it now.
They do because they
It's
want
so
the
illiquid.
Zinnia's expensive. An even better one. The double crisis ones with the Groudon and Kyogre. Nobody wanted that one. And look at people today. People talk about like how that's so cool to open and everything.
It's actually
$100 blister.
Illiquid
I could have
at
bought
this-
endless amounts of those. Every time I went to Walmart, Target, wherever, they were on the shelf, hung up on the peg. Had zero interest, and now they're $1,300.
That's what I mean, right? And now it's cool because it's valuable, and people tie value to cool factor.
So, do you think that if Crown Zenith came out today at the same time, it would have higher valued cards than this set? I don't think so.
If Crown came out today with the same print allocation numbers, those 4 gold cards, your RC set, those would be over $1,000 piece.
You think so?
Absolutely. Look at the Charizards and the Lucario and the Gardevoir.
Then why aren't they there?
Let's say
those cards
$500. Okay, let's say $500. Actually, no. They probably would be 1,000 because if we're talking those print run numbers, and Phantasmal looked like it was like 3 times what we're seeing for Ascended Heroes. Yeah, they would be crazy, stupid crazy.
Stupid crazy, Super Saiyan crazy, stupid.
Okay. I knew it.
Here he goes again.
Super Saiyan crazy. He doesn't even have the yellow hair. Oh, he does in the other one. But the gold hair, yeah. Oh, you're pointing to Gohan? Yeah. I was gonna say the Goku is what I was talking about there. Well, anyways. No, we got one more thing if you guys want to be fast. So this is the day after Christmas that everyone's seeing this.
Oh, that's fast.
Give us the speedrun version of your greatest holiday memory to do with Pokemon. It doesn't have to be, or trading cards, and it doesn't have to be Christmas. It could be any holiday that you have. We're gonna start with
Christmas.
Huh?
Try to do Christmas though.
Listen, I'm starting with Christmas because it just happened. Like I just had that day, basically. I haven't had a good hobby Christmas in years, dude. And now I started doing the streaming stuff with Nick. We have all these new people that I met through that. It's kind of crazy actually to think about, honestly. But like we just opened all my Secret Santa presents on stream last night and it was so fun. And I was like, bro, this is the best day ever. Like I just got this little Rowlet Squishmallow. I got another Rowlet right here. It was the best day. And all the people. Oh no.
Good luck, Nathan.
Yeah, good luck. It's all right. Nate the editor will figure it out. Thrifty got a lot of Squishmallows and Rowlet plushies.
Bro, listen, Rowlet has taken over my life.
Very, very wholesome, Thrifty. You love that.
Yeah, very wholesome, Thrifty.
Thank you to all the stream homies. That's all I got, really.
The Stromies.
Yeah, exactly. The Stromies is crazy.
The Stromies and the Stromboli. Okay, anyways,
it sounds wrong, but
I don't like it.
Mason, what holiday memory do you got?
Well, it's not like Pokemon or TCG related. But I think a lot of people my age will appreciate. The year that the GameCube came out, and we had Smash Brothers like release at the same time with Melee. I was thinking about that because we were just playing Melee at our Christmas party we had for the stores, and I dominated, of course. Like,
Who do you play? Who's your main?
But I
Who's
have
your
so
main?
many
Who's
hours
your
in
main?
Melee. I probably have, thousands of hours in Melee. And man, I just remember getting the GameCube, whipping it out. I only had a 64 at the time. I didn't have a PlayStation. So like those graphics at the time on my like little like tiny like 8-inch TV that I had in my room, I cried. I cried happy tears.
That's
And
amazing.
it's just like
I
the most
cried when I got
awesome
this
thing I've
Mason.
ever had.
I cried when I
Melee
got this.
is my game. Melee.
Who's your
Who's
main?
your guy?
Who's your
Yeah.
main?
Who's your man? Yeah.
My main is Peach.
Whoa.
Turnips, throwing turnips at you.
Are you
It's
wave
knifing them
dashing
across
and
the
all
stage.
that? No wave dashing. Are you?
No, I didn't ever get that crazy. But
Yeah, okay,
my
cool.
my sons, they got really good. They got really
All
good.
That's a great story, though.
That's
Not
amazing.
as great as it would have been if you followed the prompt and had to do with TCGs or Pokemon.
No,
It's crazy.
But-
That wasn't in the
better,
prompt originally.
better.
Okay, cool, thank you.
My vote on Mason's
yeah,
story,
John,
better.
of course, he's better because he loves Melee.
I didn't
do
know
love
you liked
Melee.
Melee like that, Mason. We need to play. Okay.
I mean,
John, what do you got?
Next
What
time we
holiday
fly out,
story
let's
do you
go.
got?
Yeah, mine is a Christmas memory as a child, and it was kind of like that first discovery that booster boxes existed. I only thought that you could get booster packs, but my parents bought my brothers and I, my two brothers and I, bought us each a Magic the Gathering booster box, and we were like psyched out of our minds that we got to open up 36 packs. We're like, what? These are in the store. They don't let us take those off the shelf. So we had a sealed box. I believe it was Judgment. Magic the Gathering Judgment back during the Sliver days. That's my favorite era because of that's when I did Magic. But yeah, got to open up a whole booster box, which blew my mind. I think people kind of share that sentiment too. Back in the day, you didn't like realize that was a thing.
well,
Dude,
now
probably
there's
my
like
favorite.
cases
Yeah,
and
whatever.
pallets and truckloads. Now it's crazy. But
No, it is though. It is interesting to think about that because, like, when I was a kid, I thought the same thing that like the boxes were just what the store had to display the stuff. Like, not think, like I think even maybe when part of me thought that like they just replaced the packs in those boxes, that not like
Yeah.
that they got them.
Your
in
parents
the
were
box.
bougie getting you a whole box. That's
Crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, I did. I
Crazy.
never had a
Wow.
whole box. I never had a
Crazy.
whole box. So that's super cool. Yeah.
yeah, that was awesome.
All right. Well, mine is not Christmas, but it's pretty close to Christmas.
Oh, so
It's
also
a
didn't
New-
follow the prompt. Okay.
No, I said holiday, and it's New Year's Eve. So it's actually I was in Pokemon, at school, and I had my own cards and everything, but I never had like went to a league or anything like that. In my local card shop that was in my super small town, it was called Give Me Space. It's no longer open today. But it was, that's where I'd go in sometimes. I'd get packs or whatever, or, they had a binder with cards. I mostly like have common cards and stuff to trade for. And one day my mom took me in there and the store owner said, hey, you should come by if you like Pokemon on New Year's Eve. We're doing a big Pokemon party. And oh man, I wanted to do that so bad. And so I convinced my mom to take me. And so she takes me up there at like 8:00 on New Year's Eve, and they have this place set up, and it's just packed. And it wasn't a huge place anyways, but it was packed. And they had bought pizza, which is my favorite food, so I was already in. They had bought pizza and had it out that people could get free pizza just for being there. And there's people playing the game, and they've got a tournament running. And the first thing I see when I walk in that door are two guys playing, and one guy was playing Rain Dance Blastoise. So he's got 2 Blastoise set up on his field. That was a big card. I didn't have Blastoise or Charizard or Venusaur. I just didn't have those. I think my biggest card at the time was like a Flareon from Jungle. And so I see this guy, and he's got 2 Blastoise out, and he's playing with them, right? And these people are and then you look down the field, and there's just all kinds of crazy cards, and I was hooked. And so after that, I convinced my mom to let me start going to league and everything like that. But that was kind of my first foray into like, I need to be a part of this and like start showing up. And I started going to league, and that league, actually, the league runner was Derek Farber, who ended up being the guy, the TO for Pokemon that let me vend my first regional and my first state tournament, that kind of like allowed me when I got back into Pokemon to like starting my journey and everything. Yeah, and he used to be my league leader when I was little. So little me running around with my money to get a Mountain Dew and Doritos and playing cards and everything like that. And then, he thought it was cool that I got back into it later. And so he kind of helped me on my way of starting the store and everything. And so that was kind of like that night. I'll never forget. It was like the cornerstone to me starting kind of not just the hobby then, but the hobby again later. So that's my holiday memory. I think about it almost every year around this time because, I had just gotten some cards for Christmas, then got to go to that league, and that was a big deal for me as a kid. So that's my holiday memory.
Look at us now.
Cool.
Look at us now. Here we are on the Off Center podcast, your home for perfectly imperfect hobby talk, one off center take at a time. We're your hosts, Squeaks, Thrifty, Mason, and Radar, and we hope you've had an amazing holiday season. And with that, we'll see y'all next time.
Merry Christmas.